Agriculture, University of Ruhuna. She received his bachelor's degree in agriculture from the University of Ruhuna in 1996, specialized area in animal science, and a master's in philosophy degree in agriculture, specialized in aquaculture from the University of Peradeniya in 2001. She obtained his PhD in marine biology, specialized in marine molecular microbiology from China in 2007. Professor Hirimuthu Goda received different research grants and awards, including university research grants in year 2003, 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, and 17. UNESCO Research Grant for the year 2009 to 2010, 2011 to 2010, 2017 to 2018, and 2018 to 2019. And Presidential Research Awards in 2010, an award for support scheme for supervision of a research degree in 2013, which is offered by National Science Foundation Sri Lanka, and research grant from Ministry of Environment in 2021, and many more. She is also serving as a visiting lecturer in animal science at Sri Lanka Institute of Advanced Technology at Labuduwa, Galle from 2007 onwards. She also works as an external examiner and a lecturer at Postgraduate Institute of Agriculture, University of Peradeniya from 2007 onwards. She is a well-known researcher, and her research interests include fishing and aquaculture, molecular biology, genetics, and animal breeding. She has published 35 full research papers and 45 abstracts in the subject areas of aquaculture, molecular biology, and molecular genetics. I cordially invite Professor Yashoda Hirimuthu Goda, Madam, to conduct the session. Thank you very much.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Sulochana, for your nice words. So welcome to the session 212, Poverty, Rights and Rural Aquaculture. So I will be chairing this session, which will run from 10:15 a.m. until 11:15 a.m. So there will be 4 presentations, and every presenter will have 10 minutes for their presentation, followed by 5 minutes for questions and answers. Thank you all for choosing this forum to present your valuable research findings. I think your research will be of great service to the upliftment of the society. Since everyone is here, let's get started. And please turn off your mics or mute it when you are not speaking. Sulochana, shall we start it?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So the first presentation is about dried fish making as a means of building resilience against fishing-related vulnerabilities in small-scale fishing communities of Sri Lanka by K.L. Piyasiri and Oscar Amarasinghe. K.L. Piyasiri is going to present the paper. Yes, now we can start the presentation.
Hello everyone, and welcome to my presentation on dried fish making as a means of building resilience against fishing-related vulnerabilities in small-scale fishing communities in Sri Lanka. So the fisheries sector in Sri Lanka is basically small scale, but is very important in terms of employment, food security, and generation of 70% of the animal protein consumed by the people in the country. And the sector provides direct and indirect employment to around 65,000 people and is directly linked with the lives of approximately 50% of the population who resides in the coastal belt. Vulnerability. The word vulnerability is closely linked with fisheries, especially with small-scale fisheries, because if you go through fisheries literature, most of the authors have introduced fisheries as one of the most vulnerable occupations. So yes, fishers are vulnerable, both physically and socially. Vulnerable group because first they have to face the global crisis of fish resource depletion and degradation, and there are many other shocks or stresses that affect small scale fishers in Sri Lanka, both individually and collectively. So these include weather related shocks such as storms, heavy winds, hurricanes, and changes in water currents, market volatility, changes in input and output prices, political related shocks such as policy changes, seasonality, and externalities such as pollution or coastal development. So this is from a resilience survey that we conducted in 2015 at Gandhara on major fishing related shocks confronted by the small scale fishers at the area. So fisher populations have been compelled to confront this diversity of shocks and adapt themselves in order to remain in the game, which is a very difficult task, not easily attainable. Thus, fishers need to develop strategies to effectively cope with shocks and stresses, or in other words, to be resilient. So, dried fish making is one of the traditional household activities of fisherwomen in Sri Lanka. So, in this context, this review was carried out to identify the capability of dried fish industry towards building resilience against diverse vulnerabilities confronted by small-scale fishers. And this presentation is based on secondary data, experiences, and field observations carried out at southern Sri Lanka. By definition, dried fish is salted and sun-dried or artificially dried or smoked fish. Tuna, seal, and sprats are the major dried fish varieties produced in Sri Lanka. The major dried fish producing districts of marine dried fish are Trincomalee, Mana, Kalpiti, and Matara, while Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, and Monragala are the major inland dried fish producing districts. So dried fish production is mainly carried out with traditional home scale techniques. So the discussion part, the role of dried fish towards building resilience against fishing related shocks. So simply, resilience means the ability to bounce back or return to equilibrium following a disturbance. So we discussed the role of dried fish towards building resilience against fishing related vulnerabilities under three main areas. The first one is dried fish making as an alternative livelihood activity or as means of livelihood diversification. So livelihood diversification is one of the strategies people adopt in order to cope with vulnerabilities. If you have an alternative livelihood, if you are engaged in a different livelihood strategy, there's no output or yield covariance. So when there's a low fish catch, then the demand for dried fish increases and you can earn money through selling dried fish. So dried fish generates supplementary ways of income for fishing households as a product that can be stored and sold. Dried fish would contribute towards smoothing the intertemporal flows of daily fishing income. Thus, it could be argued that dried fish is not only a source of income, but a product which helps people to withstand and cope with the income losses at times of distress. And then the contribution of dried fish towards food security and nutrition. So one of the immediate and most common coping strategies among poor fishing communities to withstand the income losses due to hazardous condition is reducing household expenses and food consumption. That may have detrimental implications on food security and well-being of poor, vulnerable fishing households. So dried fish is considered as the poor man's protein because it is the main source of animal protein of the households in low income groups, especially the people living in the areas other than the coastal belt. Moreover, it should be emphasized that for the low income Sri Lankan fish eater, whose diet often consists of rice and a curry, dried fish act as a rice puller, which increases the palatability of the diet of rice and vegetables more than a source of proteins. Dried fish making as a means of gender empowerment. So one of the traditional household activities of fisherwomen in Sri Lanka has been the processing of fish into dried fish. So compared to Catholic fishing communities in the western and northwestern coasts, where women are traditionally engaged in fish marketing and processing to a greater extent, the only fish-related activity of fisherwomen in predominantly Buddhist communities in the southern coast of Sri Lanka is fish drying. So dried fish making has become a way of life for the fisherwomen, the people or the fisherwomen in the southern coast, indicating its high social value within the fishing communities. So this was taken from a survey we conducted in 2006 at Gandhara on the involvement of women in income generating activities. So I think it's obvious that the higher involvement of women in dried fish making as a supplementary income generation at source. So as conclusions, that based on the reviewed literature and experiences, it could be argued that dried fish would contribute towards building resilience in three ways. First, as a source of supplementary income, which tend to smoothen the intertemporal flows of daily fishing income, and as a cheap source of animal protein in meeting the nutritional needs of vulnerable people, and by playing a major role towards women empowerment and accumulating social capital. So these are the references, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please use her email. Okay, so then you can direct your questions to her via email. Yeah, well, Sulochana, shall we move to the next presentation?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, the second presentation is setting up a breeding protocol to enhance breeding performance of potential food fish green chromite under captive conditions in cement tanks by A.R. Mudalige, C.N. Walpita, ARSB Atauda, and S.J. Pereira. I think A.R. Mudalige is going to present the paper.
Good day, dear sir, dear madam. I would like to present my research study setting up a breeding protocol to enhance breeding performance of potential food fish green chromite and proper suratensis under captive conditions in cement systems. Dear Sir, dear Madam, I would like to present my research study setting up a breeding protocol to enhance breeding performance of potential food fish green chromite and Trophilosuratensis under captive conditions in cement systems. My co-authors are Professor C.A. Nuvalpita, Professor Saman Ataud, and Dr. Salunjay Pereira. Introduction. Sri Lanka rich with 97 freshwater species, including 61 endemic and 36 indigenous species. Among those species, there are a considerable amount of food fish can be identified. Due to various anthropogenic action for a longer period of time, fish population is reducing day by day. Seasonal and perennial tanks in Sri Lanka distributed in rural areas. People of the rural area are affected by the poverty. They are protein-based animal food consumption, mostly based on the locally available fish production. New technological advances such as captive breeding and larval rearing, very important tool to increase fish population in the natural environment. Captive breeding provides proper conditions to stimulate production of particular hormone, and it's improved developed the gonadal and it provide higher piquant with higher production of larvae and then fingerlings. Wine green chromite. Green chromite belongs to family Cichlidae. This is a large cichlid in Sri Lanka. This fish is indigenous to Sri Lanka, also distributed in India. This fish grows up to 300 to 400 grams at average. The special character of this fish is this fish euryhaline that can grow in freshwater and brackish water areas. Due to their beautiful appearance, this fish has ornamental value. Also, Enterophilus was used as a nutritious food fish by ancient to present in Sri Lanka. Due to various anthropogenic actions, population has been reduced gradually for a longer period of time. Captive breeding is needed to protect them, but still there are no any studies carried out to this purpose in Sri Lanka. Therefore, extensive breeding and growing is much needed to increase the consumption of fish in rural communities to minimize protein malnutrition. Distribution of Enterophilus in Sri Lanka. Last 30 years, distribution pattern can be identified as follows. According to the few publications, first one is 1991, published the book by Rohan Pityagoda, Freshwater Fishes in Sri Lanka. Their distribution during that period. Also, latest publication by the National Register of Sri Lanka by the year 2020. Distribution pattern described the lower distribution can be identified. That means a captive breeding protocol for Enteropleurotensis. Methodology. Brooders were collected from Kalaoy and transported to Aquaculture Development Center, Dambulla. Acclimatization and adaptation process were done there. They stocked in the cement cisterns the size of 6 into 4 into 1 meter depth. Water level maintained at the 0.4 meter. Flow-through system of water arranged to mimic environmental conditions. Feeding was done using a formulated feed which contained 4 to 2% crude protein, and as the requirement, aquatic plants was supplied for their preferences. During that period, found that behavioral changes from the group of the fish, they found that some fish pair out and found in some different places. This is due to their coupling behavior. Mature brooders selected and stocked in breeding tanks. According to their characters, male can be found genital papilla, which is pointed and pale red in color. Also, female genital papilla is reddish and swollen, modified ovipods can be found. Males tend to be larger as same age as female. Also, dorsal and anal fins tips are elongated in male compared to female. This grimpromite fish, we can found there are 8 strips, vertically strips in the body. In the males found, the vertical strips found in the male in between eye and opicula only found during the mature period, during breeding. Captive breeding. Brooders, after brooder selecting, 6 pairs of brooders were stocked in 2 meter into 2 meter into 1 meter depth tanks. The water level maintained at the 0.4 meter depth. Male and female brooder stocked the ratio of 1 to 1. They have parental care. Their special characters are due to that you have to stock 1 to 1 ratio. Otherwise, they can identify some aggressive movements. For the purpose of breeding, supplied some substrate like PVC pipes into the breeding tanks. Also, staging place supplied. Spawning. After introducing brooders into breeding tank, found that they swimming together, resting at same place together. Also found that male clean the tank. They browse the algae and clean the tank. Then found that female deposited eggs that place. After that deposition, found that female spread their sperms. This process continues around 1 hour to 1.5 hours. The eggs of Enteropleurotensis found that they are sticky, pale in yellow color, elliptical shapes. Length is around 2.4 millimeter to width is 1.1 millimeter. Embryonic development taken place around 66 to 72 hours and found that hatchlings after that. After 6 to 7 of hatching, found fish are presuming. After presuming, found that brooders protected their young ones, that presuming post larva, they covered and they live nearly to the swim near to the that post larvae. During that period, the soil oxygen, pH, and temperature measured. Pre-swimming fry measured as 5 millimeter in length. Seed production after pre-swimming have to fed that post larvae with algal mixture, the green water. Then after that, fed Daphnia, algal mixture fed around 4 to 5 days, then fed Daphnia. After 10 to 12 days, formulated feed used as their food which contain 4 to 2% protein. 10 days after that hatching, brooders removed from the breeding tank and stocked in another tank to set nest breeding. According to the breeding, the stocked in 2 meter into 2 meter into 1 meter tanks at the water level maintained 0.4 meter. Use 6 tanks. They found that eggs 350 to 450 eggs laid per couple. Hatchability found as 80%. Breeding interval varied 15 to 18 days during that experimental period. Development of captive breeding protocol according to the Enteroplus suratensis, identification is very important. That coupling behavior due to their pheromonal action and regular management of water quality and feed is very important. After spawning, should minimize the disturbance. If there is any disturbance, tend to eat or destroy their eggs because they are they have better parental care. For successful ex situ breeding of Enteroplus suratensis, all 3 steps should be optimized. Success of breeding, captive breeding, very important to stock enhancement. Also, it can be used as important candidate for aquaculture in food use as fish culture. This should do some trials. Also can develop as ornamental fish due to their beautiful appearance. Conclusion. Cementous resistance can be successfully used to breed green chromite under captivity. Captive breeding can be used to promote them as ornamental fish species.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mudalige, for the interesting presentation. Now the presentation is open for questions. We have time for 1 or 2 questions.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Mudalige.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. From where did you get that rootstock? It's from the wild or?
And from the Kalawaya, that yeah.
And you have fed them with 42% food protein. And how was your feeding ration? And how frequently you feed them?
Around 10% of body weight.
10%. Okay. Thank you.
We have time for 1 more question. Okay, shall I ask 1 question? So, Mr. Mudalige, are they seasonal breeders or year-round breeders?
Yeah, according to my research period, around 3 months, I got eggs 3 times from that 6 couples. Actually, with better management, I think we can get year-round breeding. According to my research, and
Yeah, I have any research done in Sri Lanka about relevant to their breeding
No,
production.
no, I didn't find. But in India, I think they done some research.
Madam, madam, I think you're mute.
Yeah, sorry for that. So thank you, Delegate, for
Okay.
your nice presentation. So I think we can move to the next presenter. I think the next speaker is J. Kiruptika, who will be presenting about determinants of the catch rate of inland fisheries, a case from the Periyamadu Reservoir. Authors are J. Kiruptika and S. A. Veerasurya.
Good day to you all. I'm Kriptika Jendran. I'm from Department of Agricultural Economics and Business Management, Faculty of Agriculture, University of Perthenia. My research was determinants of the catch rate of inland fisheries, a case from the Periyamadu Reservoir. Periyamadu Reservoir is located in Mandevis Divisional Secretariat in Mannar District. It is a medium-sized reservoir. The area of the reservoir is 227 hectares. Fisheries industry is one of the main industry in Sri Lanka. So fishing is the capture of aquatic organisms in marine, coastal and inland areas, including harvesting, processing, marketing and distribution. There are two main sectors, marine sector and inland and aquaculture sector. Inland fisheries is that any activity conducted to extract fish and other aquatic organisms from inland waters. So important of inland fisheries is inland fish products have good nutrient contents because it good supplements for protein and minerals food items. So and also it contributes as source of livelihood because in earlier days it acts as on the rural people who are engaged with the natural resource. So it gives the livelihood to the people and also it's contribute to the GDP and act as a food security, especially to the rural people. They can use the inland fish products for their good nutrient supplements. This is some of the statistics in Sri Lanka in 2019 related to inland fishing. Annual inland fish production was 73,230 metric ton. Per capita fish production 4.1 kilogram per year. In Mannar, total inland waters area 11,600 hectare. In Mannar, there are one medium reservoir tank, one major tank, 3 medium tanks, and 39 minor tanks. Over the 800 hectare of the area of the tank was categorized as major tank. Between 200 hectare and 800 hectare area of the tanks categorized as medium tanks, and below the 200 hectare area of the tank is categorized as minor tanks. In I earlier said Periyamadu Reservoir is a medium-sized reservoir located in Mandevis Divisional Secretariat in Mannar District. Mannar is one of the districts in Sri Lanka. So area of the tank was 2,027 hectare. In Mannar,
There's a technical issue and we'll solve very soon. Okay, please stay with us.
as what are the challenges are facing by the supply chain actors. In MENA, there are no more researches are conducted related to the inland fishing. The potential is high, but the actual return is somewhat low. So I try to focus and I try to find what are the issues. So if identify the issues, we can take that into next step. So it will reflect on the improvement of the inland fishing. So it definitely fulfill the knowledge gap. My objectives are to analyze the factors affecting the catch rate of inland fishermen in the perimeter reservoir. So for this, I investigate how fishermen's demographic and household characteristic and also factors related to fishing, the role of fisheries society, issues influence on catch rate of fishermen are influencing, and also to investigate the factors influencing the decision to engage in inland fishing to the people are around in the perimeter reservoir, and also to identify the problems faced by supply chain actors in the perimeter reservoir. So this is my conceptual framework. The decision to under the decision to engage in inland fishing, there are two factors: fishermen factors as well as non-fishermen factors, because in the area there are fishermen population as well as non-fishermen population. So I try to focus what are the factors that influencing to make the decision to engage in inland fishing. So for that, non-fishermen factors, under the non-fishermen factors, there are non-fishermen profile, socio-economic status of non-fishermen, perception towards fishing and fishery society, and issues faced by the fishermen. These factors are influencing. Under the fisherman factors, my dependent variable was catch rate of fishermen. My independent variable was fisherman profile, fisherman household, socio-economic factors, fishing factors, role of fishery society, and issues faced by fishermen. My moderating variables are environmental factors and reservoir conditions. But these environmental factors and reservoir conditions are similar for all the fishermen, because I choose particular reservoir. Methodology. My study area was perimeter reservoir located in Mannar district. My target population was inland fishermen who are engaged with the perimeter reservoir. And the sampling size was 45 inland fishermen as well as 45 non-fishermen, because only 45 amount of fishermen are incorporated with the perimeter reservoir. The unit of analysis is individual fishermen. I prepared pre-structured questionnaire for both fishermen population as well as non-fishermen population. So I collect primary data from the fishermen and non-fishermen population as well. So, and also I collecting data from supply chain actors of the reservoir through direct interviews and telephone interviews. Here I used Heckman's two-sample model as my econometric model. This model was proposed by Heckman in 1976. So this is two-step procedure. It includes selection model and regression model. I enter the fisherman population data and also the non-fisherman population data. So it's in first step, it separates fisherman population data using the catch rate of fishermen. So from the selection equation, the set I includes age, schooling in years, household size, log income. From the regression equation, xi includes age, schooling in years, household size, sources of income, log income, duration of fishing in a day, days of fishing in a week, government support, training programs attended by fishermen, issues such as disturbances from the crocodile, marketing constraints, perception of low yield. This is my research. These are the factors that influence to the catch rate of fishermen. In here, log income, training programs, days of fishing, disturbances from crocodile, marketing constraints, perception to low yield. These factors have the significant effect on catch rate of fishermen. If fishermen's log income is increasing by 1%, the catch rate will be increasing by 13.614. Because if fishermen have the money, fisherman income increasing, he has the money, more money. So he can spend more on inland fishing. He can buy his tools on his own, boats and other fishing tools. He wants some of the tools for his fishing. So he can afford money to his business. So it will, if he has the proper tools, it will definitely reflect on the catch rate of fishermen. So it has a positive relationship. In training programs, if fishermen's if training programs attended by fishermen is increasing by 1 unit, the catch rate of fishermen is increasing by 2.087 unit, because if fishermen are exposed more training programs, he can get to know more about the inland fishing. He knows more about the value and importance of inland fishing, and also the actual potential of their district. So and also he can get knowledge and skills towards the inland fishing is high. So it will definitely reflect on their catch rate. Likewise, the days of fishing, if the days of fishing is increasing by 1 unit, the catch rate of fishermen will be increasing by 5.404 unit. Because if some of the fishermen are treated in Periyamadu area, the inland fishing as part-time job. So if fishermen are treated this is a full-time job, so if the days of fishing was increasing, it will definitely reflect on their catch rate. So through the training programs, he can maybe motivated by the actual facts about the inland fishing, so it will reflect on their catch rate. And issues such as disturbances from crocodile, marketing constraints, perception to low yield, these issues have the negative impact on the catch rate of fishermen, because if these issues is increasing by 1 unit, the catch rate will be decreasing. Because in Periyamadu area, their main issue is facing by the fishermen is disturbances from crocodile, because there are a lot of crocodile in the tank, in the reservoir. So the crocodile bites the fisherman's fishing nets, and also it disturbs reproduction process of the fishes also. So it will reflect on their catch rate, because if the tools, fishing nets was damaged, a lot of the fishes are missing, yield is missing, and also from their catching yield they can find lots of damaged fish by the crocodile. So through these issues and also marketing constraints, fishermen feels like they do not have any proper marketing structure, because in Periyamadu area all the fishermen are give their yield to the one particular tenderer. In every year they call tender, so they appoint a tenderer, so he can collect all the fish yield from all the fishermen, and he sells to the wholesalers and sometimes to the cycle sellers. So they do not have any proper marketing structures. And also perception to low yield, fishermen are considered that even they work hard, they do not get more profit because of these issues. So most of the fishermen have that in their mind. So these are reflect on their catch rate. This is factors that influence the decision to engage in inland fishing. In here, household size and lock income have the significant effect on decision to engage in inland fishing. If household size is increasing by 1 unit, the probability of engaging in inland fishing is increasing by 0.539, because if the if the one person's household size is high, definitely he wants more money to manage their day-to-day life, and he in his area he has a natural resource, so actually he tend to utilize his resource. So if household size increase, it will definitely move to make a decision to engage in inland fishing. And also lock income, if lock income is increasing by 1%, the probability of engaging in decision to engage in inland fishing will be increasing by 2.648, because if he has the money, if lock income, if income is increasing a village person, so he has money, so he can afford fishing tools, and he have the right to engage in the inland fishing. These are the results, the problems faced by the supply chain actors. The tenderers mostly faced issues such as no proper storage system, climatic issues, and unsustainable yield throughout the year. And the wholesalers, they are facing no proper roads, no value-added products, unsustainable production. And also the cycle sellers, they are facing no proper storage facilities, low quantity of fish, and unsustainable supply throughout the year. Because if tenderer has the excess fish, only they give to the cycle seller. So throughout the year, they do not get the yield. This is the image I took from my research time, that anchoring of boats in the boundary of the reservoir. So they do not have a proper anchoring system. So because of this, I have seen a lot of damaged boats in their field. So my conclusions are: income training programs attended by fishermen, days of fishing, issues such as disturbances from the crocodile, marketing constraints, perception of low yield are significantly influence on catch rate of fishermen. And also household size and log income are significantly influence on the decision to engage in inland fishing. And no proper storage, unsustainable yield throughout the year, no proper transport facilities are the issues frequently faced by most of the supply chain actors. So my implications are, my suggestions are: promote more training programs related to inland fishing, because before I said, I have seen a lot of damaged boats in their surrounding field, and not all the fishermen have the boats. So fishermen share their boats among the fisherman population. So if they get to know about how to repair their boats, they can use the damaged boats. So the boats can be used efficiently. And also provide a proper harbor system to avoid damaging the boats, and promote awareness programs about inland fishing. It will help to increase the investment in inland fishing, and also promote young generation to involve in inland fishing. When they get to know about the value of the inland fishing and the potential of the district, they motivated and involved in the inland fishing. So I would like to thank my research supervisor, Dr. Senale Veer Surya, who is senior lecturer of Department of Agricultural Economics and Business Management, Faculty of Agriculture, University of Peradeniya. He guided me throughout my research period, and he helped me in all the way to achieve my research in an efficient way. And also the district aquaculture extension officer, regional aquaculture extension office, National Aquaculture Development Authority in Vaunia. He helped me to identify the major issue in my district, and also identify the proper reservoir, and guide me to collect the data also. And also the Provisional Irrigation Department of Northern Province allow me to do the research under the reservoir, which are the control of this particular department. And also the Fishery Society of Perimadu, they have highly cooperated with me to engage and complete my research, because already they get to know about what is the research, why we are going to do the research, like things. They are aware about that. So I am very comfortable and easily collect my data from fisherman population as well as the non-fisherman population. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tiruptika, for your interesting presentation. Now it is time for questions.
Hello, Ms. Tiruptika. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, madam.
Yeah. In your conclusion, you have mentioned that there is unsustainable yield throughout the year in Perimadu Reservoir. So how
Yes.
did you collect some catch data from the fishermen, or how did you declare it?
I collect, they record their catch rate per every day.
Mhm.
So I collect the catch rate from the
Fishermen.
Perimadu Reservoir Fishery Society.
So what kind of fish species are there?
Sorry, madam.
So what kind of fish species are there?
In
the
their
reservoir?
tilapia is the main species, and also the major carp, silver carp, big head carp, and other viral, like freshwater prawns. These are the main fish species in Perimadu.
So did you collect throughout the year the catch rates?
No, madam, no.
Then how did you say that unsustainable yield throughout the year?
I use only for the period of 2 months for the catch rate, but I saw their record. I can see some of the month they have collected the high catch rates, but some of the month they didn't get more.
It depends
yield.
on the sometimes environmental condition with the
Yes, ma'am.
seasonality, no? That it's better if you have throughout the year date, like you mentioned that unsustainable yield, no? Think about that. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, any more questions? You can ask one more question. We have time for one more question. Okay, let me ask one question. So could you explain why you select this Periyamadu Reservoir for your study?
Because, madam, in MENA, there are 3 medium-sized tanks. In this tank, I can collect the enough data. So I thought that if in Periyamad tank, the yield is somewhat better than other 2 tanks. So if I go to this tank, I can conclude that what are the factors they are facing. So it will help to improve, because it's better to start somewhat better tank. If I go another tanks, it's their profit and their yield is somewhat lower than this tank. So, and also the data access for this tank in the particular amount of fishermen are there only in this tank. So I choose this tank.
Okay, thank you, Kirutika, for your nice presentation.
Thank you,
So,
madam.
yeah, shall we move to the last presentation of the session? So that is division of labor mapping in rural aquaculture value chains by ST Hansika and DAMD Silva. ST Hansika is going to present this presentation.
Division of labor mapping in rural aquaculture value chain. Content. Introduction. Aquaculture is one of the fast-growing agricultural sector considering the Sri Lankan context and world context. About 50% of seafoods is contributed by aquaculture, creating more employment opportunities for both male and female. Mainly, aquaculture contributes for household income, nutrition, food security, and social and economic status of the farming families. According to the estimation, 6,000 employment has been generated in relevant to aquaculture, and 13% is represented by women. Although gender disparities are more common in rural aquaculture industry, division of labor are cleared among men and women, result in some feminized culture in some activities. Justifications. Division of labor is a wide approach that should be applied in job designing by dividing the tasks down into relatively small parts, each of which is accomplished by a single person. Rural aquaculture value chain has been made up of several actors such as fishermen, collectors, wholesalers, vendors, processors, and exporters, with each and every category has taken place a vital role. This study is focusing on the division of labor mapping in rural aquaculture value chains with the major objectives of identifying both visible and invisible roles of men and women in each node of the selected value chains and mapping rural aquaculture value chains on the division of labor. Objectives. Broad objective. To identify the division of labor in rural aquaculture value chains. Specific objectives. To identify both visible and invisible roles of men and women in each node of the selected value chain. To map rural aquaculture value chains on the division of labor. Methodology. Strategy, mixed method and case study approach. Sample aquaculture value chain actors inland fisheries, freshwater prawns value chain. Sample profile contains 30% of fishermen, 25% of collectors and wholesalers, 20% of processors. Primary education, secondary education, and total income contribution also considered. Study location, inland fish value chain, tanks, reservoirs, landing sites, processing sites and markets, aquaculture value chain, freshwater prawns. Methodology continued. Data collection method, primary data was collected by participatory mapping, focus group discussion, and storytelling exercise. In this method, the researcher initiates an informal discussion with the relevant party regarding the selected topic and allows them to express their experience, knowledge, and ideas regarding the topic without any intervention. Throughout the discussion, the researcher should record all information expressed by the relevant party. Inland fish value chain, input supply, harvesting, retailing, and processing, including small-scale fishermen, commercial fishermen, village collectors, outside collectors, village vendors, and processors. In the stage of harvesting, major derivatives are post-harvest losses, poor storage facilities, poor logistic, lack of knowledge and skills, off-season unstable production, lack of marketing orientation, climate changes, and lack of fishing equipment. In the stage of retailing, there are major derivatives such as post-harvest losses, poor storage facilities, poor logistic, lack with infrastructure, off-season unstable production, lack of marketing orientation. In the stage of processes, product shortage, post-harvest losses, poor storage facilities, poor logistic, and lack of infrastructure are major derivatives. Considering freshwater prawns value chain, in the stage of fishermen, they have to do fishing, cleaning, and primary processing. Major functions of collectors are collecting, grading, and stored for 1 to 4 days. Collecting, selling, and stored for 1 to 3 days are done by the wholesalers or retailers. Exporters are mainly involved in secondary processing, preservation, and packaging. Major international markets are Thailand, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, Japan, and Holland. Division of labor. In the stage of input supply, major functions are breeding, produce eggs, produce fingerlings. In fishermen's, harvesting, grading, cleaning, removal of internal organs, and primary processing. Collecting, grading, selling, primary processing are major functions of collectors, wholesalers, or retailers. In the stage of processes, drying, smoking, secondary processing, preservation, packaging, marketing, and distribution. Exporters, secondary processing, preservation, packaging, marketing, and exporting. Fishermen. Most of the fishermen are men, but there is only 5% represented by women. Peddling, fishing, equipment handling, and primary processing are the daily practices of fishing that consume more than 7 hours of the day, and mainly women's involvement can be observed in fishing and primary processing. Active fishermen hubs are functioned in catering to most of the inland reservoirs, and those farmer communities supply nets, boats, live bears, and other required equipment. Some fishermen are practicing primary processing, but most of them do not process and sell to the collector. Immediate primary processing just after harvesting increases the shelf life of fish harvest by 60% more than unprocessed fish. Although there are no barriers to entry into the industry through legal registration in the fishermen's community, harvesting has been limited to a particular time period of the year in inland reservoirs. Those limitations are called due to bad weather, off-seasons, and fish availability. Throughout the off-season, almost all the fishermen have to involve in other employment. Since most of the farmers do not practice primary processing or any value addition, the income has been limited by comparing with the other value chain actors. Moreover, most of the farmers lack knowledge of post-harvest management, storage facilities, logistic facilities, marketing or venture creation skills, reducing the quality of the harvest and also the profit of the business. Intermediaries. Fish value chain intermediaries consist of collectors, wholesalers, retailers, and village or external vendors. Out of all the intermediaries, women represent more than 25% as entrepreneurs. Primary processing, grading, transport, drying, storage, and some value additions are the major tasks of intermediaries. Although intermediaries are the immediate node of the value chain, there is a huge income gap between those two stages. Compared with the marine fish value chain, the inland aquaculture value chain has poorly developed and do not widely distributed all around the country. Major portion of the post-harvest handling is done by the intermediaries. It is more worthy to empower them with proper practices, novel technology, and the skills of value addition and post-harvest handling. Women involvement. Starting from fishing to processing, women plays a significant role in the fish value chain. Compared with each value chain node, women's involvement in fishing 5% is considerably low, but involvement in other primary and secondary activities such as grading, processing, preserving, storing, and marketing is higher. Under the primary and secondary processing prepare for drying, grading, smoking, storage, packing, and also some retail activities are highly feminized. Almost all the women are not full-time employees. They engage with processing while they are managing household activities, child caring, nurturing their family, and also children's education. Although each value chain node activities such as post-harvest handling, biosecurity practices, and trade are highly feminized in the rural society, it strengthens women with entrepreneurial, management, leadership skills, and also financially. Here, the division of labor in men and women in each stage of the value chain. Conclusion. Division of labor mapping disaggregates the gender division of labor to allow an understanding of the role of women in each value chain nodes of inland fish and prawns value chain. Except for fishing and primary processing in both sectors, most of the key activities are done by the intermediaries, and most of the times those activities are feminized. Since secondary processing and value addition are not functioning by fishermen, the income gap between the two immediate nodes of the aquaculture value chain is high. Consequently, aquaculture value chain is not well developed and spread compared with the marine fish value chain, creating an excess demand for inland fish. Since women's involvement in the aquaculture industry is highly recommended for the livelihood development of the rural fishing areas. Well-developed extension services, guidance, and gender equity are needed in the aquaculture industry to gain higher productivity, and smart farm hubs and the application of new technology are also effective pathways to the aquaculture industry and women empowerment. References, acknowledgement.
Thank you, Ms. Hansika, for your interesting presentation. Now it is open for questions and answers.
Hello, Miss Hansika, can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah. So how many districts have you covered during your study period?
Mainly, I have focused on the Sabragamu district regarding the Samanalava area, and also I could collect some data in relevant to the some reservoirs in Udavalava and also in Megamutu.
In your abstract, you have mentioned that your focus groups are in Nikambu, Ratnapur, and Puttam districts.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. I mainly focus for the Sabragamu area in this Samanalava reservoir.
Nikambu in the where? In your abstract, you
Yes,
have
of course.
mentioned.
Yes, I use. Yes, that area also considered.
Nikambu, it is in the western province
Yes.
now.
Yes.
So is it a district? Or you have mentioned that Nikambu, Ratnapur, and Puttam districts. Please pay your attention
Yes.
on that.
Sure, I'll take.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have time for one more question. Yeah, Miss Hansika.
Yes, madam.
Yeah, any special reason to select Ratnapura district?
Yes, of course, because in Ratnapura district, I concerned of the Samanalava reservoir. In that reservoir, there are so many fishermen who involved in fishing, but most of them are lacked with some marketing facilities, and they are unable to sell their products to out of the district. So that's why I selected that.
Yeah, so I think you have select the dry fish, moldy fish, and ornamental fish food value chains for your study, no? So,
Yes.
do you have any idea about the aquatic plant industry, the value chain?
No, I didn't focus on the aquatic plants.
Okay, any more questions from the audience? Yeah, Will. So, thank you, Hansika. I think
Thank you, madam.
we are out of the time. So, thank you very much to all the presenters, authors, and the participants for your nice presentations and active participation. I think we have come to the end of a very fruitful session. If you have more questions about these topics, please contact authors using their emails. So their emails are available in the abstract book. Ms. Solochana, I guess that will be all for the session, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you in the next session at 12:15 p.m. and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Professor Hirumuthugoda, madam. And with that, I would like to make the ending of this thematic session, Poverty Rights and Rural Aquaculture Session 2 of the Fishing for Life Conference 2022. I would like to express my heartiest thanks and gratitude for Professor N.Y. Hirumuthugoda for chairing the session and her expertise regarding the presented the research papers. And I would also like to express our respectful thank to the rapporteur of the session, Dr. Chinta Pereira, Senior Lecturer, Department of Zoology and Environmental Management, Faculty of Science, University of Kelaniya. And dear authors and presenters, thank you very much for your contribution to this session, and wish you all the very best to come up with more fruitful researches in future as well. So we are inviting you to stay connected with the rest of the technical sessions as well. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sulochana.
Thank you.